So one of the biggest movies of all time, well, movie trilogies really, Back to the Future.
I love Back to the Future.
I know. Amazing.
The best.
Iconic. Timeless. It made Matthew J. Fox pretty much a star because he had just been on a sitcom at the time, and then he got this trilogy and became one of the biggest movie stars in the world. But what a lot of people don't know is the lead in that movie, Marty McFly, had originally been cast as another actor.
Really?
And another actor not only lost the role but was filming for more than a month when they realized he was doing it wrong and they didn't like it, and he got fired and they brought in Michael J. Fox.
Oh, how devastating.
I know. I've been wanting to do a bunch of minis on like actors who get recast in roles for whatever reason. I find it really interesting, like the awkward kind of machinations of how that works.
That is so awkward.
So,
particularly when it goes on to be like such a huge success. You're like, that could have been me.
A huge success. So today I'm giving you just the gist of Eric Stoltz, the actor who was originally cast in Back to the Future, and why he lost the role a month into shooting to Michael J. Fox. Hello, welcome to Just the Gist Marty, the show where I, Rosie Waterland, tell entertaining stories about interesting things and fascinating history and all the other stuff. And I always give you just the gist, just enough to make you sound impressive to your friends at a dinner party. Joining me today is James Joseph. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited about this one because like Back to the Future is one of those film trilogies that as a kid I was just obsessed with. Like it is so clever. It is so well thought out and planned and smart and just entertaining.
Well, the first one came out in 1986, which is the year we were born. So by the time we were like 5 or 6 years old, we were like primed to have that on VHS.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yes.
Like, come on. Did you know that this role had been recast?
No, I didn't.
Did you really not know?
No, this is crazy.
Oh, see, I mean, this is one of those things that a lot of people have heard, because whenever you see like those, online listicles of like famous actors who got recast or whatever,
You'll never believe who hates who.
Yeah, well, this is always like kind of one of the top ones. Yeah. But Eric Stoltz has never really, he's like barely spoken about it. He mentioned it in one interview a couple of years after it happened, and then he spoke briefly with Michael J. Fox when Michael J. Fox was writing his memoir last year, like when his memoir came out last year. So he never really said much, but there's an incredible book that came out in 2015 called We Don't Need Roads, The Making of the Back to the Future trilogy by an author called Cassine Gaines. It's a really, really awesome book.
I'm so keen.
Yeah, the audiobook's kind of like whenever there's a sort of oral history of a thing, it feels like a long kind of podcast.
Yeah. I'm going to definitely get into that. I remember there was an oral history, a podcast on, it was a book on The League of Their Own that I remember you recording years ago, and I got into it and was so consumed and enthralled, particularly because I had like a whole chapter about the making of Big.
I know,
and I was like, hook it to my veins. It was so good. So this also sounds like it's right up my alley.
I freaking love a good oral history about Hollywood. It's essentially where an author just interviews everyone involved in a project and then just puts all their quotes and points of view together. Like, I love the oral history of A League of Their Own. There's also a great oral history, I can't remember the name of the book, but I'll put it in the show notes, of the making of The View, how The View, the show came
interesting.
together. That one is juicy.
Is it? I feel like that would be a great Netflix series or something like that, wouldn't it?
I mean, now that Barbara Walters has died, they should do it. I mean, I think they need to wait till Whoopi's retired because she's still on The View and she's a big part of.
Is she?
Because she was pretty much there from very early on, and it's just, that is such a good one. And this one is also very, very.
Oh, how exciting.
Very good.
Do you have a favourite Back to the Future movie out of the three?
Probably 2.
Yeah, I think for me it's 2 just because they go into the future.
Yeah.
And just, what was it? It was like 2005
with the
or 15 or whatnot.
Yeah, that's the iconic one.
Like,
the self-lacing sneakers. Like
the Pizza Hut when the pizza goes huge.
Yeah.
Like there are so many things in that.
What year was that meant to be? I think it was meant to be
2015?
Yeah, it was meant to be like 2015 or something.
Yeah, 05 or 15 because I remember
Flying
it was in
cars,
fives.
the whole thing.
It was so good.
There was a weird, the high school bully had turned into a Donald Trump like president.
Oh, that's when they went back to 85.
Well, I mean like.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was incredible.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But that's probably the second one.
Yeah,
Do you
I
reckon?
think so too. Yeah, just because the future was like, as a kid, it was so magical to imagine what technology would be like.
Yeah, I know.
I'd like to go back and watch it and be like,
we should watch them again.
What did they get right and what did they get like super wrong? Like, you know, obviously we don't have like hoverboards like skateboards, which would be massive, or like flying cars, but things like FaceTiming.
Elon's promising.
I know,
We've
like
got
things like FaceTiming and things like that they have, like the huge TVs in the room, things like that. Like, yeah.
That's true. I mean, we'll get in there.
Yeah.
Elon's been promising taking money off people and promising a flying car for years, and he can't even build one that's Windows don't smash. Yeah. So we'll see. Okay, so I won't give a huge background on Back to the Future itself because this is just a gist and it's a mini. But
and if you haven't watched it by now.
If you haven't watched it, that's also fine.
Go and watch it.
No, but I reckon a lot of younger listeners wouldn't have.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I know my nieces and nephews refuse to watch stuff. They say it looks old. It looks like it's from the olden days when I try to show them stuff that is like
Go and do it.
So recent to me. But you don't need to have seen the movie to because this is just about the casting process and, what went on. So the movie was in development for a while. It was a guy called Robert Zemeckis, who's like quite famous now. He went on to do like Forrest Gump and other stuff. He sort of wrote it with this other guy. They came up with this script, and Steven Spielberg was a good friend of theirs. I think they all went to film school together. And Steven Spielberg had kind of blown up with E.T. And so while he wasn't going to direct it, he agreed to come on as like Amblin Entertainment. His company would produce it, which sort of got them the cachet they needed to get someone to agree to make it. So they start going into pre-production, like pulling it all together. And it's very clear to the studio, to Steven Spielberg, to Bob Zemeckis, to everyone, it's going to hinge on who plays Marty McFly. They knew they were getting Christopher Lloyd for Doc Brown, the old zany professor, but it was like, who's going to play Marty McFly? They really wanted this kid who was like 23 years old called Michael J. Fox. Michael J. Fox was starring on a sitcom called Family Ties.
Oh, I loved Family Ties.
Family Ties was great, and he was like the breakout star of that show. He played like the eldest son.
So much Riz.
He was so much Riz. Just so like he wasn't meant to be. It was kind of meant to be focused on the parents, that show, but he was just so good that he had become kind of like America's, I don't know, what do you like?
Golden child.
And he had a very boyish face. So he was kind of like America's boyfriend. Like all the girls wanted to date him. He was super cute. He was super funny. He just had the Riz. But because he was shooting Family Ties, it was hard to get him because he already had like a crazy busy job. So Steven Spielberg was friends with the executive producer of Family Ties, and he gets him on the phone and he's like, listen, there's no other person for this role of this kid. It has to be Michael J. Fox. Like, will you please just consider it? We'll make it work around you guys. He sends the script to the EP of Family Ties, and the EP reads it, and he calls Steven back and he says, I'm so sorry. This script is so good. He'll get obsessed with it. He'll want to do it. Like, I can't take this will break his career wide open. He'll want to leave the show. He was basically like, I'm not even going to show this to him.
It's too good.
It's too good.
He'll want to leave this.
Yeah, he'll want to. And so Steven was kind of like, fair, that's his stuff. Fair enough. Also at the time, the actress playing the mother on Family Ties was pregnant. And so they had sort of stepped up Michael J. Fox's role a lot more than usual because she was like filming less scenes and eventually like doing less episodes. And so he was kind of not only the breakout star of the show, but at that time, like the integral kind of star of the show because the mother character wasn't doing as much. And so they were just like, we just can't, I'm sorry, I'm not even going to show it to him. And so they literally audition everyone for this role, like Johnny Depp, John Cusack, Charlie Sheen, just every actor of that kind of, Robert Downey Jr., like all of them get auditioned for this role. No one's quite right, but it comes down to these two actors called C. Thomas Howell and Eric Stoltz. No, I mean,
I've not heard of either of them.
Neither of them went on to be as big as Michael J. Fox,
Yeah.
I would say. C. Thomas Howell's been in a bunch of stuff. Eric Stoltz at the time had been in a bunch of like Cameron Crowe movies and was like a sort of, he was in a bunch of sort of emotional teen drama-esque movies at the time. He was 23 as well. It comes down to the two of them. Eric Stoltz, I think neither of them were quite right, but they were like, but we're never going to think anyone's right besides Michael J. Fox. So Eric Stoltz was the best. And also the EP at Universal, the one sort of in charge of keeping this train running, was like, we don't have a lot of time for this. Like by the time they finally got it all greenlit and they got into pre-production and then they wanted to release the film on Memorial Day weekend in the US, which is like the biggest film weekend of the year. It's end of May. And they were like, we want to do that at May of next year. It's already 1985 now. They're like, we need to start shooting soon. We're taking too long casting this role. So this EP was like, look, I think he's great. Let's cast him. I think he's perfect for the role, Eric Stoltz. He's amazing. So like, although like, yes, Eric Stoltz was good, I think also this producer was like, just fucking get someone behind in front of the camera. We're going to get going or we're going to miss our deadline. So they cast Eric Stoltz and he's pumped. He has wanted to be an actor like his whole life. He trained classically in New York with Stella Adler, who's like, you hear acting snobs talk about her. She's kind of like one of the queens of the method, which is where you inhabit a role. You, I mean, at drama school, the way they teach it to us is you sort of break a scene down into beats and you really think about the emotional motivations of your character. You think about like the intention behind everything they do. And it's like I'm sort of also describing Stanislav. Anyway, this is just the gist.
Getting quite wanky,
But I'm saying it is what that's
it's
why
the wanky side of acting.
I'm telling you. It's the wanky side of acting where you essentially emotionally live really what the character is going through rather than just acting it. You want to really feel it. I mean, there's a very famous story about Dustin Hoffman with, I think it was Laurence Olivier, was it? Yeah, who Dustin Hoffman also works with the method. And there was this scene where he was meant to be like beat up and exhausted, so he ran around the building like 20 times to get all into, and Laurence Olivier was like, why don't you just act?
Like, we tried acting.
Yeah, we're just playing pretend. Like, so, you know, famously people like Jared Leto goes method.
Jeremy Strong
is the one who goes method. You know, they walk around the set they're never not in character. You have to call them by the character's name, all that kind of thing. So that's the way Eric Stoltz had trained.
So he was going around pretending that he was a time-traveling 17-year-old.
Well, yeah, we're going into it. So, but he takes the role. He's very Jeremy Strong-like. He goes and learns guitar because he doesn't know how to play guitar, and electric guitar is a huge part of Marty McFly's role. He learns to skateboard really well. So he like really gets into it. So filming starts in November. It's meant to go for a few months, and it's a really tight turnaround. They only have, after they aim to finish filming, then a few months until the end of May to get this release to that huge opening weekend sort of big box office time.
Which is ironic because the movie is Back to the Future and they've got a lot of time pressures. So.
Yeah, it's
very ironic, isn't it?
So there's basically, about 7 months like until this movie needs to literally be in front of on screen.
They've got to do the production and the post-production in 7 months. That's kind of unheard of, isn't it?
Because, I mean...
That's crazy.
I don't know if it was unheard of back then. I mean, it was a tight turnaround.
Yeah.
So they decide to edit as they go. So usually you shoot everything, get all your footage, and then you editing process. You sit down and with an editor, the director usually, and but they edit as they go. So they shoot stuff during the day, scenes, and then at nighttime, Bob Zemeckis and this editor that he has basically sit there together editing. They also do it on weekends. So they're editing as they go just because they know there's time pressure.
Yeah.
The reason they start to see really quickly that it's not working with Eric Stoltz is partly because
they're doing the editing process.
Yeah. Because Bob Zemeckis, he was a fairly young director. I think he was about 33. He'd done one or two other movies, but this was his big blockbuster chance with something he'd also written.
Was it supposed to be a trilogy from the get-go, or was the first one just so successful
it was,
they were
it was cool. So huge that they were
That's so clever. And it's so clever because the number 2 especially is so intertwined with the first movie.
I know. It's crazy.
It's kind of hard to believe that it wasn't planned together or filmed even together.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's fairly inexperienced at the time, and he says later, on set, it straight away it felt off.
Yeah.
He was struggling with Eric Stoltz because Eric Stoltz was not really bringing the sort of lightness and comedy to it, that kind of sort of slapstick, silly, goofy comedy that you eventually see Marty McFly bring, that sort of charming, even in the most serious scene, he has a little glint in his eye and a little smile on his face. He was being quite serious, and he was struggling to sort of work with him. He even in his costume, Eric Stoltz, the iconic Marty McFly costume, in that first movie, the puffer jacket and the color, he wore, and you can look up on YouTube scenes of him that they filmed. He's got a black turtleneck and a sort of black looking military jacket. It looks very what's that Harrison Ford movie where he's in the future? Blade Runner.
Blade Runner.
It looks very Blade Runner. It just looks. I mean, there was a quote. I was looking for it before because I've read it before, so this is not attributed to me. I'll find it somewhere and put it in the show notes. But someone said it was in his mind, he was in the movie Inception and everyone else was filming this funny Back to the Future, but to Eric Stoltz, he was filming this serious sci-fi thing. And so they started seeing it, Bob Zemeckis noticed on set, but then it was really confirmed for him when he was looking at the footage that they were editing. It just wasn't coming together the way he had imagined it in his mind.
That's tricky, isn't it?
I know. In the book, the Back to the Future, We Don't Need Roads book, the author said, Back to the Future is hard to pin down in terms of genre, with significant comedic, science fiction, fantasy, and even musical elements. While there are moments of romance and pathos, the film would certainly not be considered by many to be a hard-hitting emotional drama. But that fact might have been lost on its original lead actor. From the first day of shooting, the director had to put in extra effort to try and coax out of Stoltz the comedic performance that he and his writing partner had imagined would be there during the writing process. Eric didn't get it, a producer says. Eric did not understand the physical pratfall type of humor that Bob was looking for, that Steven Spielberg called Daffy Duck humor. Eric didn't like that. It wasn't part of his style for sure. So it was a constant tug of war. This is what I want. And then he would say, I don't get it. Why should I fall down when I'm putting my pants on? It's just because it's meant to be funny, bro.
Yeah.
Eric is a fine actor. I've worked with him before and since then, but he's a very method actor, which didn't really work for Bob's style of shooting.
And when things falling over and putting pants on, that's classic teenage behavior, very much like a puppy dog.
Yeah,
and
when you
it's got to be relatable.
Morning, you've slept in, you're pulling your pants on. Yeah, it's
it's a family film. It's a film that we speaks to all ages. So it needs to be kind of relatable in that sense. It has to be endearing.
So he was, also not the most popular on set. He insisted on being called Marty. He stayed alone in his trailer. Even Leah Thompson, who plays Marty's mother in in the trilogy, she was what was she? It's in her 20s at the time. She was quite young too because of the way the movie works. It's weird, guys, the stuff with the mother. But anyway, if you know, you know. Otherwise, watch the movie. But she says she has this really funny anecdote about their initial table read when all the actors and everyone sits down to sort of read through the script together. And it was pretty like obvious to her early on that Eric was just reading a very different script to everyone else. So she says, you know, the story is kind of intense if you think about it. Like if you break down the script as a fine actor, like he had been trained, you get really confused by that stuff. They needed an actor to keep those balls up in the air so people would stay with just the story and not think about the darker aspects of it. I remember after the table read, everyone was like, that was so great. Like that was so funny. Yay. And he brought up the point that, don't you think it's really kind of strange and sad that all the people Marty loves remember a past he didn't live? He remembers a completely different past. And Leah Thompson goes, I don't remember exactly how he said it, but I was like, no, don't say that, Eric. That's not the right fit for what this is. Like he was getting really philosophical about like the future and things changing and the sadness of it.
I mean, there would be people out there who have written some really deep, dark theses on Back to Future movies. Like I can see people going down that path, but you're the actor in this, man. You can't do that.
I mean, it's even like, look at something like, say, Interstellar.
Yeah.
Like Interstellar is all about like sort of different timelines or like time, like different dimensions and times being different. That is a story with the same kind of themes written really sad, really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But like this is a comedy. Yeah. This is a time travel comedy movie for kids or for, you know, families. So it was obvious even at the table read to Leah Thompson that like, okay, he's taken this quite seriously. The cinematographer said, I kind of sensed for a few weeks prior to the fact they announced he was going that they weren't happy and they were looking for a solution. Bob would constantly say something that we'd all be like, oh, yeah, that's so funny, yeah. And then Eric would go, no, I don't think I'll be doing that. Like, because he just didn't want to do any of the silly, comedic, pratfall stuff. And even when you watch the like few bits of footage, the scenes that he's in online in his black turtleneck and his black jacket, feels like a different movie.
Yeah.
He's playing it so serious. Yeah. And Marty McFly is like, you know, he's like Ferris Bueller.
Yeah. It's like a puppy dog version of Ferris Bueller. Did Christopher Lloyd say anything about his time with Eric?
He has one quite funny quote comes after he gets dropped. So, you know, I think people just didn't he wasn't quite right. And also whether or not it's because he was a bit of a dick or just the method acting thing makes you seem like a bit of a dick, or it's like with Jeremy Strong where he's like, I'm actually a very nice person. I just take my job very seriously on set. You know, that's kind of what people said of Eric Stoltz. Like he just kept to himself, was studying his script like he was, you know, performing in Inception or Interstellar or something. And I mean, look, in the future, like he is one of those actors that you do hear that he's not easy on set. Not always, but you know, who knows? Yeah. So they kind of know it's not great. And then there's a 2-week break over Christmas and New Year. And in that break, the bosses are like, we need to like figure something out. And Bob Zemeckis is like, if we fire our lead actor, I'm pretty sure this is done because we're on this tight deadline. He's not a first-time director, but it's his first huge movie.
And they got like 5 months-ish to
and
get
like
it out.
And so he's like, I don't think I could. He's like, but continuing the movie with him it's wrong. He's like, he doesn't want to do that movie. That's not the movie he wrote or imagined. So he's like, so I kind of have to take this to them, like the producers with the money. So he gets the editor to put together an hour of footage that they have, like not the whole movie obviously, but just an hour of the footage. And he sits down with the editors in the screening room and they watch it. And Zemeckis says later, it was very agonizing. You don't want to have to admit this horrible truth. There was no moment where I was like, oh, I know what the problem is. It was always a gnawing suspicion that just got worse and worse in my mind. And then when they did the screening and I finally had to admit to myself that it wasn't working the way it needed to. He said, after the screening, he said to the other people in the room, there's a hole in the middle of our screen. The lead actor doesn't work. So he's like, oh, my God.
And at this point, I feel like in other JTG episodes, here is like the turning point where things kind of go into a disaster.
Yeah.
Like you either know and you just keep pushing forward and things unravel, or you make changes and like you're making too many changes within the time frames and things unravel.
And it ends up becoming one of the worst films of all time.
Yeah, I feel like this is the point in a lot of stories where like things just turn into a disaster.
I mean, a lot of people have said, there's no way of knowing how well the film would have done if they just continued with Eric Stoltz, but a lot of people do reckon that would have been the disaster. Like it wouldn't have been a good movie. The lead actor was just in a different movie in his mind to everyone else. So Bob Zemeckis takes the footage to Steven Spielberg because he's like, the studio's not going to listen to me. We're going to have to delay. We won't make Memorial Day weekend. We're going to have to reshoot. We're going to have to pay Eric Stoltz out. Like you have to pay him his whole contract because he hasn't done anything wrong. So they're going to lose quite a bit of money. He's like, I'm not sure the studio will listen to me. So Steven Spielberg watches the footage because Bob Zemeckis is also like, I don't know if I'm going crazy, if I'm going crazy, kind of like I'm very like, new to this. You're the expert, so they show it to Steven Spielberg, and they're like, "Are we crazy? Is it worth telling the studio we need to recast?" And Spielberg says, "You're absolutely not crazy." Mm-hmm. He says, "I could write a very long list of positive attributes about what I just watched, and Eric Stoltz's performance would not be on it."
Yes. Yeah.
And I want to reiterate again, he's a very good actor. That's what everyone in this book is always at pains to say. He's a very good actor. He just wasn't right for this.
Yeah.
He just wasn't. He's probably not a comedic actor. This wasn't his jam. So, I mean, it's kind of like imagining, I don't know, could you imagine Jeremy Strong hosting like SNL?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just don't know if he would
be the fit.
Yeah. So they know they have to get a new actor. They already know they're very behind. They can't afford to stop shooting. They have this 2-week break over Christmas. They're coming back. They can't miss a day. They have to keep shooting. And they're like, we know Michael J. Fox will be great in the role. The studio would be far more likely to, because they're worried the studio will just go,
don't worry about it.
Yeah, phone it in, sunk cost fallacy, like forget it. So they're like, what if we go to the studio and say, it doesn't work, but we've got Michael J. Fox. Mm-hmm. And so Steven Spielberg calls his friend at Family Ties again, the boss, and he's like, please, like we really need your help. Can you rethink it? We'll make it work. And it kind of falls in Michael J. Fox's favor because the actress playing the mother, she'd had her baby, so she was back on set now. Mm-hmm. So the episodes weren't so centered around him anymore. Also, they were almost at the end of shooting their season for the year, which when they initially started shooting, they were at the beginning. Mm-hmm. So there's like a few things that are in his favor, but it would still be a few months where Michael J. Fox would have to film Family Ties all day and then get driven to Back to the Future set and film till like 1 or 2 in the morning, go home, sleep till 5 a.m. And then like it would be a big couple of months for him. But the EP of Family Ties agrees to put it to him to see if he wants to do it. So he calls into his office and he's like, look, my friend Steven Spielberg has this movie, explains the situation to him. He explains like, you have to read this script tonight, agree by tomorrow, and you have to start next week. Mm-hmm. Like, but basically start now because you're going to have to get fitted for costume, you're gonna do it, but like start shooting next week. And Michael J. Fox agrees straight away because he already knew about the movie.
Oh, did he?
He'd been really annoyed that he hadn't been asked to audition.
Oh.
So he had been filming Teen Wolf. He had, during a 4-week break from his show, he'd been filming Teen Wolf, which is now like a cult classic.
Yeah.
He's a teenager who turns into a wolf. That's basically it. But at the time, it was kind of like, it was the only thing he could shoot in 4 weeks on his break from the show. He wanted to get into movies. I think it was like the second movie he ever did. It was kind of silly. And while he was filming some basketball scenes for that film at a high school, the team from Back to the Future were there scouting the location, and he talked to them as in full costume as the wolf, because I reiterate to you guys again, he's literally a teenager who turns into a wolf.
And it's like in the 80s, so like there's no like, CGI going on. It's all just
this
like
this is not a Twilight
hair
wolf.
And makeup kind of wolf,
It's just like a hairy teenager with pointy ears. And he said he goes up to the crew and he's like, oh, what are you guys, you know, scouting for? And they tell him, oh, it's this Steven Spielberg picture, blah, blah, blah. And he says later he felt so embarrassed because he's like there and he's like, in like what seems like a D grade movie. He's like, there's a Steven Spielberg like picture in production, and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And so he was kind of like, he'd heard about it, but then he never got asked to audition. And so when the EP of Family Ties says, sorry, I knew they wanted you, I never showed you the script, he's like, what the fuck, man? But he's like, yes, I will do it.
I'll do it.
I will do it. He doesn't even need to read the script. He absolutely wants to do it. So he spends a couple days, you know, getting prepped. Meanwhile, the most awkward part of all of this is that until Michael J. Fox is like locked down, and I mean on set in front of a camera, they don't want to lose time by not shooting. And so they just keep shooting scenes with Eric Stoltz. Oh. Like, no, they know he's getting fired. They're just waiting for Michael J. Fox. It's going to take about a week for him to get to set. So...
And the thing is like Marty McFly is essentially in every scene.
Yeah.
So it's hard to film scenes that Marty isn't in because they just don't exist, really.
Yeah, it's hard. So for this, like about a week that they're shooting, they continue shooting with Eric Stoltz. The producers know that he's getting fired. They don't tell anyone else. So they don't tell the actors or the crew or most importantly, Eric. A crew member later said there were signs in that last week when we would set up a shot and we would shoot like Christopher Lloyd's angle. So that's when, you know, you're shooting his side of the conversation. Normally then you reverse and you shoot Marty's side of the conversation, but they'd be like, oh, no, don't worry, we're not doing that reverse today. So they kind of just kept using Eric Stoltz to act in scenes. So like
as a stand-in.
Yeah, so the other actor could do their part, but then they weren't sort of filming his angle. And so some crew members were like, that's very strange. And then they got told, oh, there were parts of the 1955 set that they were finished using, and normally they would start dismantling that and they were like, no, keep that. Don't start dismantling that yet. So there were like little signs coming through, but nobody knew, or they just sort of kept trying to film as many reaction shots as they could because they were like, then at least we may be able to use it in the movie, like just shots of just Christopher Lloyd reacting or just whatever, like. But essentially he was like filming for a week when they all knew we're not going to really use any of it. We just can't
that's awkward.
Say anything yet. On the last day of shooting for Eric Stoltz, which he didn't know was his last day of shooting, he got to set at 5:30 p.m. They did, again, just some reaction shots with Christopher Lloyd. And they also shot a scene, the very last scene he shot just with him is actually the writer of We Don't Need Roads says quite poignantly, it's the scene where he's in the car, the DeLorean, and he's trying to get it to start and it won't start. Like he's trying to like set off on this thing that's going to be like life-changing and important, and the car won't start and he's going, no. And then like he's sort of like he's bashing the steering wheel in despair, and then it finally starts, and then they just went, cut, thanks, Eric, because that's when the stuntman comes in to film the driving. But it was like, the last scene was like this scene where he just didn't quite get what he wanted.
Oh.
And then they got him to do a few reaction shots with Christopher Lloyd. So they got like Christopher Lloyd, they were filming Christopher Lloyd acting while Eric was in the scene. And then they finished filming for break at 10:30 p.m. So they all think they're just going on a dinner break. The call sheet that day has a big letter F written next to Eric Stoltz's name, which a lot of people thought meant fired, but it actually meant finished. Like he's like when an actor will no longer be on the call sheet, it's their last day, they get a big F on their name. So that was already on next to his name on the call sheet. So they all go for break. He gets called into Robert Zemeckis' office. They had just called his agents and they had just told all the other actors. And Robert Zemeckis asked the agents, like, can you at least let me tell him. So he takes him into his office. Steven Spielberg waits in the hall and he tells him. Neither of them have ever said in any detail about what he said in the room, but Bob Zemeckis did say he took it really hard.
Oh, really?
He took it really hard.
Oh.
And after that, he was essentially just dismissed from set, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ouch. I mean, I think he would have taken it really hard just because he is so intense.
Yeah.
And would have so much prep and just kind of mentally just committed.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, maybe I'm a different person, but I'm hey, I'm still getting paid. So
Yeah. Whatever.
See you. I've got the next couple months off.
I mean, I think, you're 23 years old.
It's your big break.
Yeah, it's your big break.
Yeah.
I mean, he had another movie coming out I'll mention in a sec but this was the blockbuster movie. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And also I think for someone who it seems like takes his craft very seriously and probably has a lot of ego tied up in his ability as an actor to be told you're not nailing this role. That would also.
Yeah.
And to just be so young and also to worry about it's not just that you're missing this big break in Hollywood, but everybody talks.
Exactly, yeah.
And
you have a reputation in Hollywood that you got recast because you weren't working out.
Yeah.
It makes other casting directors kind of think twice about putting you in their film because maybe you're not right for that one either.
And I think they kind of did because, Anyway, so he's dismissed from set and everyone has their dinner break, and when they come back at about 11:30 p.m., everyone's told, it's happened.
I can
Apparently, Zemeckis said, we have an announcement. It's probably going to be shocking, kind of good news, kind of bad news. And he said, I'll give you the bad news. We're going to have to reshoot most of the movie because we've changed the cast, and there's going to be a new Marty, Michael J. Fox. And then someone from the crew shouted, that's not bad news.
Yeah.
And then Robert Zemeckis said, okay, well, then that's the good news. And I guess the other good news is that we're continuing on. So I guess it's good news and good news. And everyone's kind of
I was going to say, as soon as the news came out, there would have been a lightness in the room.
Yes.
Yeah. Energy would have been back.
It's described in the book as particularly on the first day Michael J. Fox started filming, a weight was lifted. Leah Thompson said news of Stoltz's dismissal was bittersweet because they had been friends. She said, Eric is such a different actor and he could be very difficult. It was a time when we were emerging from the 70s. All the young actors wanted to be like De Niro and Pacino, which was good in a lot of ways. Now a lot of young actors are just like businessmen. It was a different time, but it was not the right movie to behave like that. Eric had such an intensity. He saw drama in things. He wasn't really a comedian and they needed a comedian.
Yeah.
He's super funny in real life, but he didn't approach his work like that, and they really needed somebody who had those light chops. I feel like that's all just a nice way of saying he was kind of a dick.
Yeah.
Do you reckon? He just took it so seriously that he was a bit of a dick. And here's where Christopher Lloyd, who I think this is a dig at him, when they called Christopher Lloyd because they wanted to tell the actors before everyone else that they said, oh, we've let Eric go. He said, who's Eric? I thought his name was Marty because he insisted that. So I think that was kind of so I mean that says
especially
probably
someone like Christopher Lloyd who's been around for a while is give me a fucking break.
Man.
Give me a break. Who are you?
Whatever, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, they tell everyone and they're like, we've got so I think that was the Thursday or the Friday, and they were going to come back and just keep shooting on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So it was very fast. Interestingly, a little footnote in this, also fired was the actress originally meant to play Marty McFly's girlfriend, which was Melora Hardin from The Office.
Wow.
And we also mentioned in our Just the Gist episode about the worst Oscars of all time, the 1989 Oscars, that there was a big dance number in that featuring all the young stars of tomorrow, and she was one of them. So she was like a big up-and-comer. She was 18 years old, and she'd only shot some background scenes just at the high school and stuff at that point, but she had been on set. They'd taken set photos of her. They'd taken photos of her to put in Marty's wallet because, he has a photo of her in his wallet. But she was 2 inches taller than Michael J. Fox.
Ooh.
And at first they were like, I'm sure that's fine, whatever, we can't recast someone. But the producers polled the crew and they said it was all the women who said, no, we don't like that.
Really?
No, like it would be weird if she was 2 inches taller. So then they were like, okay, well, we'd have to have Michael J. Fox on a box in all the – because they do that in movies. Like Tom Cruise infamously is often on a box because he's so short. And then they were like, no, that's just going to be too annoying, so we have to recast.
Oh.
And there's a quote from her here. She said, imagine being 18 and you get cast in this blockbuster.
With opposite Michael J. Fox.
Well, opposite Eric Stoltz.
Oh, so it was Eric Stoltz at the time.
Yeah. It's like she was to be Eric Stoltz's girl. Like she was the original girlfriend.
Yes.
And then when they recast it with Michael J. Fox, she was too tall.
Yeah. But initially she would have heard the recast and been like, yay. And then.
I bet they didn't even tell her till they told her. Like, so she said, they called me together and said that they were so sorry. It had nothing to do with me, but that they had to recast Eric. I was just too tall for Michael J. Fox, but they loved me and promised we would work together again in the future. She said she burst into tears, prompting her now former bosses to console her over the phone. It was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, Bob Gale, one of the producers, said. I have no problem firing someone for cause, but having to let her go because she was 3 inches too tall was a very tough conversation. We had lunch with her a couple of times over the years, just recently, in fact, and talked more about it. Harden says, I can only imagine how horrible that was on their end of it. It's hard to do those things, but they would have had to have Michael J. Fox standing on a box every time he shared a scene with me. So, yeah, just a little footnote in all of it that she got. And then there was another girl, the girl who ended up getting cast had been top of their list, but she was also on a TV show that she couldn't get out of at the time. And by the time all this happened, that show had been cancelled, so she was free. Like just the way things happened.
And then that character was recast in the second one anyway.
Yeah. So like
weird.
Yeah. So literally a few days later, it's Michael J. Fox's first day on set. He finishes Family Ties at 5:30 p.m. He's picked up. He goes straight to hair and makeup. He's on set ready to shoot by 7:30 p.m. And it's literally the scenes that Eric Stoltz had been filming a few days before. He just stepped in and started filming those. Like it was just like, we're keeping going. They're going to have to go back and film the others, but they just wanted to keep it like as on track as they could. And apparently just from his first line in his first scene, he was
perfect.
It was perfect. He was perfect. He said, a crew member said, Michael turned to face the camera and asks Christopher Lloyd in the now famous rhetorical question, you're telling me you built a time machine out of a DeLorean? And the director said he knew at that point, I've done the right thing. Yeah. The hole that he had seen in the middle of the screen before had now been plugged.
Yeah.
Here's another quote from a producer. Michael came on and there was just a different sort of chemistry and feeling amongst most of the crew. He was a very boyish character that Doc Brown could relate to. Eric was somehow older and more restrained. Everyone felt a new sense of energy because of Michael. Like, oh, wow, this movie's better. It's funnier. He's a much more likable character. I think everybody kind of felt that way. Another producer said, there are films where you realize it's just not working. Back to the Future was one of those films where when the change was made to Michael, the film came to life. And Bob Gale also said, Michael was very outgoing and very happy to be there. I remember him introducing himself to the crew, being very friendly and gregarious. As I recall, Eric took his meals in his trailer, but Michael ate with the company.
Yeah.
And then of his acting with Christopher Lloyd, the production designer said, the main difference I saw between the two actors, as in Eric Stoltz and Michael J. Fox, was when Michael did a scene with Christopher Lloyd, he was very funny. He was able to hold on to his own end. When Eric did a scene with Chris, it became Doc Brown's scene. That's the difference. And that's so true. Like Doc Brown and Marty McFly have an amazing rapport, amazing chemistry. You can imagine if you're not a comedic actor, just getting eaten up in a scene with Christopher Lloyd playing Doc Brown. I mean, Christopher Lloyd said later that he was initially really concerned because he brings like 110% to scenes, and he was like, all the ones that they had to reshoot, like once you've done them, you're like, oh, thank God I got through it. And he's like, I don't know if I'll be able to do it again, but there was something about doing it again with Michael J. Fox that the scene, the scenes were better. They were better. The decision to release Stoltz ended up costing about $3.5 million because that was pushing the release date back, paying out his contract, having to pay Michael, and like the reshoots, which doesn't seem like heaps to me, but I don't know.
Back in the 80s.
Yeah, and plus Eric Stoltz and Michael J. Fox were very new actors. I bet they were getting paid like $75 each, like, so who knows. Things went okay for Eric Stoltz though. Like he had got his audition for Back to the Future because Bob Zemeckis had seen early like production screenings of a movie he was starring in called Mask, about a teenager with a facial deformity. And apparently he was amazing in that. That's why they wanted him to audition for Back to the Future. That came out 2 months after he got fired from Back to the Future. And it was through the same production company. So Universal kind of did him a solid, really heavily promoted it. In interviews, when he was asked about what happened, they sort of came up with a line of like, oh, you know, it was just creative differences. It was very amicable. Like we both, they let him say like, I wanted to also leave. Like I'm a serious actor. Look at this movie I'm in. And yeah, he won a Golden Globe for it. So it was like.
He's doing okay.
He's doing okay. He later, a couple years after this, he's like, this is the only interview I could find. He did this one interview where he actually didn't just say it was amicable, whatever. He admitted like they just didn't, they thought I was shit. So he was on TV. I'll put the link in the show notes to the footage. He said, what happened was the director fired me. He didn't like my work. We were pretty far into filming. He was very nice about it. Well, as nice as you can be when you're firing someone. But he said that I wasn't giving the performance that he wanted for his film, which I can respect. It was devastating to me. I was a young actor. It was probably the worst thing that can happen to you in your career. Once you've been fired, you know, from a huge buffo movie, what could be worse? What could happen to me in my career that could be worse than that? But somehow I survived it. So that's the only time he's ever really admitted that it was about like, that he got fired basically. It wasn't amicable and like a joint decision. He went on to do like a lot of theatre. He did quite a lot of TV. Like I'd say he probably wanted to be a big, serious sort of, you know.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
I think Eric Stoltz pictured his career being like Daniel Day-Lewis, right? And like Mask was good for him, but again, he only got the Golden Globe. Like he didn't win an Oscar or anything.
Yeah. Just the Golden Globe.
Oh no, but Golden Globes are the easy ones. Everyone knows they're the kind of.
I know, but most actors don't even win a Golden Globe. Like, settle down, mate.
Right, okay, I'm just saying. He probably was hoping that. Well, I got fired, but this is going to be the thing that catapults me, like.
Yeah, to mainstream success.
To like and serious dramatic actor success. Didn't quite do that. So yeah, he kind of ended up being one of those actors that you see on TV that. He always has a featured role on a show and you're like, I recognize that guy. Like, but you don't, you know, he's one of those. He's on all the shows. Then he started directing a lot. So he's directed a lot of television. He's directed like Madam Secretary, Grey's Anatomy, directed quite a lot of Glee. So he went on to direct quite a lot. And then the most recent acting credit I could find was actually from this year, 2026. And it's the most iconic kind of acting credit you can have as an actor that everyone recognizes, a role on Law & Order. He did one of those big ripped from the headlines episodes because he's famous enough that if he's in an episode of Law & Order.
It's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one. Yeah. He's going to be like the main dude in it. It was an episode about two parents who like are kind of stage parents to their daughter, but on social media, like through all her social media stuff. And there's just kind of suspicion about what's going on between him and his daughter and whether he's dodgy. And so, yeah, 2020, as recently as this year, he had a little iconic role in, you know.
That's great.
He popped up in an episode of Will and Grace, I think I remember. Like he's
a working actor.
He's been a working actor.
Yeah.
I mean, we all know what Michael J. Fox went on to have this incredible career and then sadly had to retire largely from acting earlier than he would have liked because he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. But he even continued on in a lot of roles, working his symptoms into the characters. His role on The Good Wife is one of my favorite roles Michael J. Fox has ever done. And he, his memoir came out last year, which was like the 40th anniversary of, you know, them starting to make Back to the Future, Michael J. Fox's memoir. And he and Eric Stoltz had never met in person.
Wow, okay.
After any of this, had never talked, like literally just one of those things, awkward. And so when he was writing his memoir, Michael J. Fox was like, you know.
It's time.
Yeah. He said in an interview with Variety, I'll put the link in the show notes, Eric has maintained his silence on the subject for 40 years, so I was prepared for the likelihood that he'd prefer to keep it that way. But I wrote to him and I sort of said, if your answer is piss off and leave me alone, that's fine. And Stoltz responded with, Michael J. Fox said, a beautifully written reply, which began with piss off and leave me alone. But then, I'm joking. Michael J. Fox said, Eric was thoughtful about my outreach, and although he respectfully declined to participate in the book, he was open to the idea of getting together. So they met up.
Yeah.
And Michael J. Fox said, we immediately fell into an easy dialogue about our careers, our families, and yes, our trips through the space-time continuum. We quickly acknowledged that neither of us had an issue with the other. What transpired on Back to the Future had not made us enemies or fated rivals. We were just two dedicated actors who had poured equal amounts of energy into the same role. The rest had nothing to do with us. As it turned out, we had much more in common than our spin as Marty. And then Michael J. Fox writes in his memoir, in the months since meeting, Eric and I have maintained a friendly correspondence, volleys back and forth between like-minded actors and dads, offering up recent movies we've loved, the latest adventure with our kids, and an occasional detour into politics. His emails are reliably witty and always fun to read, and a reminder that some of the best parts of our future can come from the past.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
So, you know, they were 23 when this happened, so they're both now in their 60s. Mm-hmm. And that is just the gist of how Eric Stoltz got recast.
Wow, that's so amazing. What an amazing kind of like this moment in history as well in terms of, you know, just like Hollywood in the 80s and cinema and how it all worked. And
I can't imagine the devastation for him for that time. I got recast once. Yeah, in something that...
Do you want to share that story?
Oh, I had shot the pilot and it wasn't anything I did. There was timing stuff in terms of my schedule and I wasn't by any means the lead role, but it was a...
Were you going to method? Too method. You're too serious. Rosie Waterland, too serious.
It was a great comedic role though, and like all my scenes were pretty much going to be with a very iconic actor and I was so excited about it. And then I found out because of the scheduling stuff, they had to get someone else. And I don't think I've ever been so devastated.
Yeah.
Like, not even when my mum died. No, joking. No, but it was heart-wrenching. It's heart-wrenching to, you know.
Especially with something like Back to the Future that just becomes so central to like popular culture. I mean, if it was like a movie that kind of like this was released and kind of died in its ass and disappeared, but just to be reminded of it for decades and decades and decades.
It comes out, it's so huge that it turns into a trilogy. Michael J. Fox literally becomes the biggest movie star in the world, like you would not be able to escape it.
But just generations of people watching it as well.
I know.
Children still watch it to this day and love it. So it's not like you can't escape it. Like
it's not like people
always
are saying
reminded of it.
Everybody knows that iconic episode of Glee that Eric Stoltz directed.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think life goes the way it's meant to go for people. Yeah. Like it sounds like Eric Stoltz by no means has had like a terrible career. No. He's had a very successful career. Like the directing and acting he's done. If you look at his, filmography, it's like it's dense, it's long. He'd be making good money. And it sounds like from what Michael J. Fox said, they're just both dads with kids and have had good lives and. A reminder that some of the best parts of our future can come from the past. Michael J. Fox.
Teardrop.
International treasure. So that
was amazing. That was so great.
I want to do some more because there's a lot of really interesting stories about actors getting recast, and I find it.
If you had a DeLorean you can go back into any time, which time would you go back to?
Titanic.
Of course.
Oh my God. I was waiting for you to finish the sentence so I could say it. What are you talking about? A toy? I love that I'm not even like, when Antonio was still alive.
No. I'll look back on the Titanic.
Sorry, Tons. Love you. What about you?
Good one. Probably like the dinosaur. I would love to see dinosaurs. Like I would love to go prehistoric times to see what the world was like then.
And you know what is so funny about that? Because I was looking at this, those random Instagram posts that pop up, and it was like showing this sort of skeletons of dinosaurs, and then it was like, if you look at the skeleton of a platypus, it's like the tail is pointy. It's like you would never guess.
Yes.
Based off the skeleton that the platypus looks like that.
Yes.
So we really have no freaking idea what dinosaurs look like. And imagine if you went back and then you came back and you were like, guys, they're like bright pink and like, covered in like fur, and they're actually really cute. Yeah. They're just like giant.
They're giant labubus.
Yeah, they're giant labubus. Everyone would be like, okay, crazy. Like, how would you ever prove to anyone? But also
like, I think I've got like Jurassic Park mindset where like I would go there and see like all
just
the dinosaurs.
Just all the iconic ones like at the zoo.
Yeah. But also like those dinosaurs like lived like so far apart from each other. So you'd go there and see like one kind of dinosaur. So yeah.
You know what's crazy to me? On that, I was going to bring this fact to breaking news that ancient Egypt is so ancient that it had its own archaeologists because even people in ancient Egypt didn't know where the pyramids came from. Because do you know Cleopatra is closer in years to the iPhone than she is to the pyramids?
Really?
Yeah. When Cleopatra was queen, they had archaeologists trying to dig stuff up and figure out where the F these sphinxes came from.
Oh, wow. How funny.
Isn't time weird?
Time is so weird.
Like, that fact blew my mind.
Yeah.
And so, you wouldn't get to see any of, like, all the cool dinosaurs are all separate.
Yeah.
There's, like, one star for every, there's one A-lister in every prehistoric age.
Yeah. What kind of dinosaur is your favorite dinosaur? Do you have one?
Yeah, mine's the Triceratops.
Oh, cute.
That was my favorite from Jurassic Park. And I remember when we were kids, Jurassic Park was like, the
movie.
And we were at Macquarie Centre once and there was so much merch for Jurassic Park. And there was this toy stuffed Triceratops, and my dad stole it for me.
Oh, nice.
Shoplifted it for me.
Oh, memories.
I was one of his successful shoplifting stints because I still have it to this day, my Triceratops. Yeah, it's in storage under our bed because we have no room here for me to put all my plush toys out. So, I always like the Triceratops.
Yeah.
How about you?
Brontosaurus.
Oh, that's specific.
It is, yeah. I feel like you're either like a carnivore or a herbivore kind of like kid growing up.
Is the Brontosaurus the long neck one that when they're in the tree and it's eating the leaves?
Yeah. It's a nice friendly dinosaur,
That's a nice friendly one.
Yeah. It's a placid kind of kid.
Cute.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
All right.
All right, thanks everyone. Bye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Just the Gist, a Just the Network production. Executive produced and hosted by me, Rosie Waterland. Produced and edited by James Joseph with additional production support from JTG team Kate Lever and Hayley Stavely and Acast legends Guy Scott Wilson and Simon McDermott. Looking for breaking news? It drops on the Just the Gist Patreon every Tuesday, along with a whole lot of other bonus audio, video, and behind-the-scenes content, which you can access for just $1, $1 a week by clicking the link in the show notes or searching Just the Gist Podcast on Patreon. Follow Just the Gist on Instagram and TikTok at Just the Gist Podcast, and watch the video version of every episode on our YouTube channel, also at, funnily enough, Just the Gist Podcast. Follow Rosie, that's me, in all of the places at Rosie Waterland. Want to give us a suggestion? Tell Rosie to stop singing so much? Email us at hello@justthegist.com.au. Thank you, as always, for listening. Now go say something impressive at a dinner party. Bye.